Cabin was our place. It was private. But Sarah knew my weakness. I'm a fixer. I build things and I fix things. He's in a dark place. Abe Miller, she whispered, reaching across the table to touch my hand. If we have the space, shouldn't we help? I looked at her, seeing the wife I loved, and ignored the knot forming in my stomach. I agreed. It was the first crack in the foundation. A tiny fissure I thought I could just patch over with a little bit of hospitality. The drive from the city to Bluegill Lake is a 4-hour journey through winding back roads, past abandoned barns and thinning cell service. Usually this drive was my favorite part of the month. Sarah and I would turn off our phones, listen to old folk records, and talk about the garden we wanted to plant behind the tool shed. But this time, the atmosphere was suffocating. Julian was in the back seat, surrounded by expensive, monogrammed leather luggage that looked absurd against the rugged interior of my Ford F-150. He didn't stop talking for 300 miles. He talked about his severance package, his ex-wife's unreasonable demands, and the craft cocktail scene in the West Loop. Every time I tried to steer the conversation toward the local wildlife or the technical specs of the solar grid I just installed at the cabin, he'd pivot back to himself. "That's fascinating, Miller," he'd say with a smirk I could see in the rearview mirror. "But did I tell you about the time Sarah and I got stuck in that blizzard in O'Hare? We had to share a single blanket for 12 hours. My grip tightened on the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Every time I glanced back, I didn't see a broken man in need of healing. And I saw a man watching the back of my wife's head with a proprietary intensity. And Sarah? She was leaning back, her hair catching the afternoon sun, laughing at stories I hadn't been a part of. I felt like a chauffeur in my own life. When we finally crested the last hill and the cabin came into view, the sun was dipping below the jagged peaks of the mountains, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and burning orange. The cabin stood there, a testament to my labor, its cedar siding glowing in the twilight. I felt a familiar swell of pride as I pulled into the gravel drive. I'd hand-carved the front door from a single slab of white oak, etching a small leaf pattern into the corner to represent the roots we were planting. But the moment the engine died, the piece was shattered. Julian hopped out of the truck before I could even set the parking brake. He didn't wait for a tour. He walked straight up to the porch, put his hand on the small of Sarah's back to guide her up the steps, and started commenting on the quaintness of the architecture. "It's so rustic, Miller," he called out over his shoulder, his voice dripping with a patronizing tone. "A real man-of-the-woods vibe. Does it have actual plumbing, or are we living like the pioneers?"